Today it's all about innovative makeup applicators. We have everything from electronics that literally scan your face. We have vibrating, rotating brushes, and then we have makeup that literally dispenses out of a brush, which is so unique. Let's begin with vibrating versus rotating. So for rotating, we have this one. I did a whole separate video on it, so if you really want to see how this works, how it applies, things like that, definitely check out the video. This one is by Blend Smart. I believe this is their second brush, and this brush head rotates. Versus this one right here, this is by Michael Todd. This is their Sonic Blend Pro. It vibrates, but it does this like sweeping motion instead of rotating or spinning. And it has 3 speeds. Let's put these 1-to-1, see what they do, and I also want to put them on the glass so we can really see a visual of how the makeup gets spread. Just gonna do 1 pump for each.
Like you needed so much less time with that.
Yeah, it just right away, the way it blended. That looks like a tornado happened on the face. And this is a little more smooth, and you can see even the coverage, it's pretty even. It's very consistent. And now look at the way it blurred everything out on the sides. This does not have like any kind of blurring effect. I'm gonna stop it there. You can see how uneven, how I'm having a hard time blending this makeup in.
And you're rotating with the rotation.
And I'm helping it rotate just because it's just, it's not good. It's so uneven. The way it grabs onto the hair, but I just feel like even right here around the chin, you can see kind of like lines going. And the thing is, it's not that dense. It's more of like a duo fiber brush, as you can see. So I think that's why it also has a little bit of a hard time blending the product into the face. Let's go in with Michael Todd. And look at that crazy coverage difference. Same pump, same amount of foundation, just the craziest amount of coverage. And look how flawless it looks. That's why I'm having a bit of an obsession with this brush right here. I just use it for everything. Personally, if you're looking for a brush like this, I think go for something like this, or go with the one from Target that is under $30. And I did a whole video of just the Michael Todd versus the one from Target. I believe it was by Spa Sciences. So this next one is a really innovative foundation wand / marker. So what this is, it's by Surat Beauty. You literally get your marker and then your foundations right here, and it's a clicky system. So you click the foundation into the wand and it dispenses your makeup out of the brush head, which I think is really innovative. But the only thing I will say I'll complain about is how tiny this brush head is, and that it's mostly only used for your foundation. Like you can use it for your concealer, and it's also, you can't use it for your contour, your blush, your bronzer, things like that. But I think it's really awesome that your foundation's already inside, so great for traveling, things like that. It is very expensive. It's $70. And I believe right now they're on sale everywhere for around $40 or $30. I also did a whole separate video on this as well, so you can really see in action how the foundation wears, how it looks. But I do want to show you guys from one side to the other to really show you guys how it applies and what I mean by why I want it to be a bigger brush head. So I usually just start off kind of like in the center of my face. I would usually go on both sides, but I just want to show you guys the one side. This is obviously way too light for me right now, but it's a good visual. Kind of just spread it out as much as I can, and then go in and just very gently buff. But you can see how this brush head, it's so small, but because the way it's designed, it's kind of at an angle, you can really get into those places where you usually can't with a bigger foundation brush, like around the nose, around the eyes, around your brows if you already had them done. And one of my favorite parts is right here around the ear to go with this brush, because you can really kind of be delicate and really focus it in certain areas. But you can see how nice and easy that was to blend. It's a little bit more work in terms of time, but because you kind of spread out the foundation in spots where you want the most coverage and then go back in and buff, it's kind of effortless in a way. But I wish it was a little bit bigger. It actually does a really good job, but there is a little bit of a technique. So first, like you guys saw in the glass, I was doing just kind of like the sweeping motion of just swiping it onto the glass, and that's what I did first on the face to get that like coverage, and then you go back in, you have to kind of buff the foundation in, because if you don't, it can look really streaky because of the type of wand it is. It's that dual fiber again. It's not as dense, but it's very soft, and when you start buffing it, it does a really good job, and you can see how even it looks, how much coverage it really provides. And there is a benefit of having a small brush, like I mentioned, around the nose and certain spots, like around the eyes, around the eyebrows, around the ears, to really get in those spots where you can't really get with like a bigger foundation brush like this right here. Let's move on to the next innovative makeup tool. Next, I would have to say is probably the most expensive and the most innovative makeup applicator slash skincare applicator. This is by the brand Opte. I again also did a whole separate video on this if you want to see more of like the nitty gritty details of how it works on my skin tone, Jackie's, and even Andre's. Give it a look. It's a really cool video. This right here is their precision system, retails for $599 US. And what this is pretty much a skincare makeup tool that uses this technology to detect only the areas where you really do need to even out the skin tone. For example, if you have any really red spots, if you have really dark spots from sun damage, if you have any pimples, it will cover only those areas. You can't take any other foundation or concealer and plop it on your face and then use this on top. This has its own foundation already built in that you put in the cartridge, and it applies the foundation only where you need it. It's not even foundation, it's more of like a tint that somehow magically looks the same as your skin tone. You know what, let's go over some of these spots right here, if we can make a difference in something right here and right here. So that clicking, you wanna hear that clicking. So that means it's detecting something. That clicking is so satisfying. See a little bit better. See that? Kind of evens it out. Before, after. I have many thoughts about this product. I think it's definitely very innovative. It's very intriguing that it has skincare in here, and then over time, the more you use it, the more those sunspots, the more those like discoloration areas, they're going to basically start fading and disappearing over time. But you do have to use this on a regular, consistent basis is what I'm trying to say. It's definitely very fun to use, but the one big negative is it's so time consuming. For my entire face, I would spend at least 20 minutes just trying to get a really beautiful, flawless, even tone for my skin. And I just felt like for me personally, it was just such a waste of time, because I feel like if I'm going to do a base, I really want to see that base on my face and I really want to even it out. But I feel like this is really for those people that love that skincare. They're minimalists, but they don't mind spending that time and effort on their skincare slash makeup for their face. It's a huge investment. It's $599 US. Again, if you guys want to see more of the full video, more of the nitty gritty details, definitely check out the video of this product right here. So these last three brushes are very different in terms of innovation, but what they're really elevating and really have been thought through is the way you're holding these makeup brushes. So a regular foundation brush, usually just hold it like this, and then you have something like this the Artiste. This is the Elite Oval 7 brush, and this retails for $65 US. This is a completely different way of how to hold your makeup brush. So you can see my hands using completely different motions. And then the next thing is of how dense this brush is. Like, look at that difference. And I'm really trying to spread it. Like, this is a very dense brush. So what this means is, just like you saw with the rotating versus the vibrating, you can see the density. This one doesn't eat as much makeup versus this right here, and just the way it blends, the amount of coverage it provides, and it's just a lot of thought and innovation has gone into a lot of these brushes. So let's start with this one right here, and then another one I want to include is this one right here by Ubi. This is right in between your fingers. You take your finger, your pointer, and then your middle finger, and you literally use this as kind of the way you would your fingers to brush your makeup on, but you have a massive brush head, also super, super dense, very soft. It retails for $23.40 on Amazon. So let's put one in one and see what they do. Let's start with the glass. Go with the Artiste, just do one pump on here, and I would do the same thing. I would just apply it to my face, just like I would with the vibrating brush. I don't tend to usually do this because I feel like it's not as even. Try to keep them all as similar as possible. I feel like it just kind of eats the product if I do it this way, and it's not as even. Like you can see, it just like soaked up the product. I haven't used this brush in since we live like in Florida, and this is a new one we picked up. I don't remember it shearing the makeup out so much. Like, this is the same foundation I used for this, and it was such crazy coverage. This is really disappointing, like extremely disappointing. Yeah, it's like doing the same thing. It just like eats that product. And you can see how uneven that is when it's applied straight to the brush head. Look at that. It's basically resonating what happened on the glass. The Artiste definitely sheared out the foundation, but it was a little bit more even in terms of coverage. With the Ubi, it really kind of performed well at first, but then it just was uneven, and it just started like eating the foundation when you kind of went over that certain spot. What I want to do now is do it the typical way I would. Place the spots in the areas where I want the most coverage and go in with the brushes and see if it will do a better job, and see if we can layer. And then just go buff it in.
Still pretty sheer.
Yeah, it really still shears it out. Now let's look at the Shiseido. I also did a whole separate video on this because they introduced this really interesting little divots for your fingers, and just to really kind of blend it all in. Also super, super dense, and like this flower shape, and it has these little inserts on the inside. They're not really inserts, but these little cut-ins on the inside, which I'm not sure what it's for, but let's see what the Shiseido does on the glass before we put it on the face. I would say it's very similar. On the glass, it definitely looks like it picks it up a little bit more, but it's definitely a lot softer, and I feel like it blends a lot faster than something like the Artiste or even the Ubi, just because it's still dense, but it's not as dense as these two right here. I'm honestly shocked at how much product both of these soaked up, because if it's super dense, it's not supposed to eat up that much product, which is so fascinating to me, because when you have something like this is super, super dense, but not as dense as the other two, and it barely soaked up any product, and it just gave you the insane amount of coverage that you're supposed to get from one pump of foundation just on one side. So overall, I'm honestly still really impressed with the Michael Todd. It really stood up against all of these and really took the foundation to the next level. It really gave me the most amount of coverage, the most amount of even blend. It was super seamless, really airbrush finish, and I'm just really impressed with how even and consistent this little bad boy is. And then what really elevates it is the way it moves. It doesn't rotate, it just vibrates and it moves like this. I like their simulation on their website. You can really see what the brush head is doing, and you do get 3 different speeds. You get low, medium, and then a third, which is the one that kind of just vibrates like this. It's good for powders or just something a little bit more intense that you're looking for. And again, you can wash them really easily. They're interchangeable. You can get different brush heads. Phenomenal. The next favorite I would have to say, or the most innovative that I appreciate, is the Opte. Even though it's super expensive, but you can see I did the full face. What it looks like, it still looks like my skin, but it's a bit more even. Even the pimples, they're not super exaggerated, but the one thing, what makes this really unique is when you look up close, you can't really see any pigment on the face. It's just a really fascinating tool, and if we're talking about innovative, it's definitely the most innovative. Is it the most practical? Is it the most convenient? No, it's not, because you can't really use it for anything else. I'm gonna leave it here. Some of these products were really disappointing, like the Artis. I was really disappointed with that, and the Ubi. It's not as even. It really sheared out the makeup, even though it shouldn't have, because they are super dense. But yeah, I'm just like really disappointed in both of these brushes. I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you for watching, spending time with me, and I'll see the next one very soon. Bye.